Welcome to Built on Faith Homestead. Today you are going to see day one of the greenhouse, how we almost lost said greenhouse on day one, right? And you're also going to see me butchering a deer, and I try to talk through the butchering process some. I'm going to show the YouTube community guidelines right here. I don't think that I'm crossing over that guideline. I'm showing how to prepare food, and it's food that you have harvested yourself. I'm showing how to make it as good as possible. This is not intended to be shocking or gory or nothing like that. This is just how to prepare meat that you have harvested yourself. This deer was given to me last Sunday night. Today is Saturday. This deer was given to me Sunday night. Last Sunday night, I skinned it, gutted it, skinned it, got it on ice, and it has been on ice now since last Sunday night, and today is Saturday, and you might be thinking, that's nuts. That meat's gonna be terrible. It is not. I've done this up to 9 days, is the longest I've ever done it, and the meat was still fine then, right? But every day you drain the water, add fresh ice if it needs it, and then I was just doing a sniff test, and it always smelled fine. This meat has smelled fine. Everything is good. The reason I do that is it's kind of like aging a beef, right? Red meat, if you can age it a little bit, tends to be a lot better. This was a decent buck that was given to me, and this will make it taste like a yearling. If you have ever hunted, you know what I'm talking about when I say a yearling. One of them little ones that you shoot that is just tender and good. This will taste very similar to that. It'll be a very good flavor. It'll be nice and tender, all that. It's called rigor mortis, right? All of that has been released now out of the muscle, and it will be delicious and a tasty, good, healthy red meat for us to eat. Now, a lot of people think they don't like deer meat, and a lot of them talk about that quote-unquote gamey flavor, right? Which is kind of funny to me. It's like saying beef tastes beefy. You know, I get it, right? That off flavor. A lot of people don't like it, and there's a lot of things you can do to limit that flavor in your deer meat. And it starts with, you want to say hi, Melissa? Hello. It doesn't start with saying hi to my wife, but it doesn't hurt nothing, that's for sure. So, making this deer taste good, or helping it to taste good, really starts as soon as you harvest the deer. As soon as you walk up on the thing, if you will cut the scent glands off of it and get the guts out of it, where it starts cooling down as fast as possible, that is going to help you have the best flavored deer meat that you can possibly have, right? And then once all of that's done, then you do something like what we have done here. I have not done it this way before and still made extremely good tasting deer meat just by processing it down the way that I have been shown growing up. And I take it as a personal challenge when somebody says they don't like deer meat. Because when this is done, you would just about have to say you don't like meat in general. And so, we will show you kind of how I go about it. I'm not claiming to be the best deer processor on the planet. I'm not claiming to be the end all. But what I am saying is, I know this is a proven method, and I know that it works. And I've had people tell me that say they don't like deer meat, they don't like deer burger, those kinds of things. When this was all said and done, talk about how delicious it is. And we'll talk about some things we plan on doing with this deer meat. So, if that sounds interesting to you, come along.
Ready, Leah? Jesus loves me. Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me.
So the first things we're going to work up are the coveted and delicious back straps. You can see what they look like right out of the cooler, freshly quartered off the animal. and we will show you what they look like when they are done, because I cannot hold my camera and work my knife at the same time. But I will take off all this fat and silver skin. I will trim this up, and it will be a nice piece of red meat when it is done. And we'll show you kind of what that looks like. Okay, so here's them same pieces of meat, them back straps, after they've been trimmed up. Nice, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but nice, beautiful red pieces of meat. And I will just cut them into kind of medallions down through here. You know, yay wide or so down through there. And these will be something that we will probably grill. We may marinate them. I like them both ways, but we'll get them worked up. And I just want to show you guys what they look like whole. Then we'll cut them down real quick. All right, guys, here is a classic piece of back strap, worked up. That will be delicious, grilled up on the grill, and made with some delicious, tasty sides. Good, healthy deer meat. All right, so here's the back leg. Hopefully I hit the record button on them back straps. If I didn't, we'll show you what they look like later maybe. But here's the back leg. I will take my knife while it's all attached still, trim off all this silver skin. Deer fat is not good, doesn't taste good, and it leaves an awful waxy feeling in your mouth. And so we'll get all the fat off, get all the silver skin off, all that kind of stuff. We'll break this guy down and get him worked through. And the kids are out here watching, learning, playing, all that fun stuff, huh, Sissy? Uh-huh. Do you like deer meat? Uh-huh. All right, so I've got my beautiful assistant, Luella Rose, filming for me here to try to show a little bit of this. I showed you that hind quarter I worked up a while ago with all the silver skin and all that still on it. This one, I've already taken most of that off. I like to do it while it's still in a big chunk. It's just easier for me to do. Once you get the silver skin off of this hind quarter, after that, it's really just following muscle groups. You can see how it'll just peel apart, and you can just kind of work your knife in there. And a lot of times you don't even have to use your knife. You can just use your thumb to begin to peel that muscle group apart, just like so. Makes it really, really easy for you to get in there, do what you need to do. And as we are going here, I'm going to let her do some filming, and I'm going to show you kind of how we are going to really process this deer down to eat. Show you the rest of kind of what we are going to do here. Trying to work pretty quick. We got to work somewhat quick because it's not the coldest of days out here, and the meat's staying good and cold, and we want to keep it good and cold so it doesn't rot, and so that it tastes as good as possible. Now, as she is filming, I'm going to talk a little bit while I work. I have been accused before of over trimming deer, wasting deer, all those kinds of things. I was brought up to trim deer this way. Are you focusing on the deer?
Yes.
Okay. I was brought up to trim deer meat this way, and I do the best that I can to save every scrap and morsel and piece for us to eat as possible. However, whatever we don't eat, I also save back to feed as dog food. We will save the ribs, we will save the neck meat, we'll make a roast out of the neck meat. Both front shoulders we will probably leave whole. That's something new that we are doing. Something that I've done before, but as a general practice, it's not something we usually do. Usually I chunk them down to grind it up. But the last deer shoulders we had, I kept them whole and smoked them and wrapped them in bacon and smoked them. And my wife informed me that we're not breaking down any more deer shoulders. That was too good not to do. And so that's probably what we're going to do with that as we go. Now, we do grind some deer meat. We are going to can some deer meat this year. We want to try to can it. We can use that, I think, for a lot of things. Mostly soups and stews and stuff. But from an individual that has since passed away, actually, he was telling me he liked it just with like cheese and crackers, like potted meat basically with like cheese and crackers. Part of the reason we want to learn to start canning some of this deer meat, not all of it, but some of it, is what if your grid goes down? What if you don't have any electricity? All of that meat in your freezer, you're gonna have to do something with it quick, fast, and in a hurry. And you're only gonna be able to eat so much of it right away. You'll have to make jerky or something, right? And so if you have some of it canned up, that's my scrap pile there, that'll go to the dog. If you have some of it canned up, it should, you know, even in a grid down scenario, be okay. All right, so here's a good piece of meat, mostly trimmed up. I do the best I can. There's always going to be a little bit here and there, but still good. And remember, this is just off the ham. And so you can see the grain of the meat, the way the lines in the meat run is this way. So I'm going to cut it this way down through here, and I'm just going to make chunks. And we have found that we eat these chunks about as much or more than anything else. And we do like fajitas with it. We'll do stir fries with it. You can do like Philly cheesesteak stuff with it. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. If you need to grind it, you can always grind it down. But once you grind it, you can't ungrind it, if that makes sense. And so we have found that we like to do this. Then you could go ahead and get it back out, thaw it out, and or even while it's still mostly frozen, cut it down to make jerky if you wanted to. It leaves you with so many more options of things that you can do rather than just grinding a bunch of it. Because if you grind it all, then you got deer burger, and the deer burger's delicious. It's good and chili, and like I said, we will grind some of it. Actually, off this deer we're not grinding any of it, but we will not grind probably nearly as much as we will chunk up, just because we'll use it for that. Remembering that my wife has that hormone trouble, and we have to eat certain foods. There's a pretty good gland in there. Let's get rid of that. If you run into any glands or any veins or anything like that, just get rid of them. Knowing that my wife has to eat lower carb, these chunks just add so many different things that we can do. And so we just cut them down in chunks. And even out of these hams, look how tender that is after sitting in there. It's just very tender, good meat, and that will make for some delicious, tasty, even steaks, right? Just salt and pepper them. Deer meat, you do not have to cook all the way, and if you go to grill you a steak out of these things and you cook them all the way, bless you.
Sorry. You
will be sorry. Deer meat needs to be about a medium rare, or it will be like a tire on you. So here's our delicious chunks. And then the rest of this, I'm gonna go ahead and quit filming so we can keep working. But the rest of this just works the same way. You can already kind of see some of the muscle groups over here, and you just work your way around the muscle groups with the knife, and it makes life really, really simple. And then you just trim away all the silver skin, as much of it as you can get. Anything that's not beautiful red meat like those pieces, and you will not be sorry that you put in the extra effort. So we are in the wind, and we have had an interruption in our butchering deer. We'll flip the camera around. The neighbors down here, well, I probably won't flip it around or show it because they've about got it out now, but it's really bad windy, and the neighbor's place kind of tried to catch on fire. And so, not the house, just the fields and stuff, I think, as far as I can tell. But it was all, the smoke was blowing our direction, so I wanted to go check that out. Probably wouldn't have done much, but I did before I left. I went ahead and set a sprinkler up from the direction it would have came, got it turned on. I thought maybe we could at least get the ground wet before it got here. But while that was going on, let me show you what was happening with our greenhouse. So, as you can tell from on the phone, the wind is howling, and I had to add a bunch of extra bricks along here because this side would not stay down at all. And let me step back where you can really see it. Hey, Lou Bug. It has got its lean on in the wind. So I have to do something to try to brace it, and this has been what happened in the middle of processing our deer. So we had to throw the brakes on the deer. I've got it where it's at least the tarp is staying on the ground, And I'm gonna have to do some bracing of some kind here. Probably some straps and some T-posts is what I'm thinking, to try to get this thing to stand back up and stay standing up. Because the wind is a howling, and it's obviously gonna have some trouble in high winds. Here's what we did to remedy our greenhouse situation. I think I showed earlier all of the extra blockage I had to put along the bottom because the tarp kept trying to come off of there as hard as the wind's blowing today. And then I drove some T-posts at a pretty hard angle, and then I have anchored this greenhouse down with these straps. I thought I might do this yesterday anyway, and then I thought, well, we'll give it some time, see how it does. And it did not do well. So we had to strap it down. That strap's still loose. And I've had to play with the strap some so we don't pull it too tight there. But I went ahead and strapped it on both sides. That way if we get a strong north wind, like we will this winter some, it won't try to blow the opposite way. And drove these down. This should keep it from toppling over. If you're gonna get one of these greenhouses, I highly recommend that you do this. I went ahead and cut it, and I just taped all the holes that I cut. Gonna hope for the best. The other thing that I'm going to do, I'm not gonna do it today, but before long in the next few days, is I'm just gonna go ahead and cut a few places up through here and zip tie this tarp down to these poles a little bit better. I think that will help considerably, actually. It'll help the tarp want to stay on and not blow around so much. You can see how much it's moving even still yet. Now that's just the tarp moving, at least. The poles aren't moving now. I've got the windows shut to the end to where the wind's blowing in, and I've got the windows open where the wind's blowing out, and it is still doing a lot of moving around. But it's a lot better than it was strapped down, and I don't think it'll go anywhere now. It's a lot more stable. It's not blowing around like it was and bouncing around, and the tarp's actually staying in place. So we'll go back to finishing up butchering our deer. I was sitting here editing the video, and my phone, for whatever reason, wanted to do a software update, and I lost the last segment of videos that I recorded today to close out the video. So there you got to see a little bit of processing a deer. Hopefully we'll have some more detailed videos in the future. And you got to see why our greenhouse almost take off like a jet airplane, right? But we got it all situated and all set up. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you next time.